Warehouse jobs produce some of the most productive, elite performing college students that I've ever seen. They never miss a day in class, complete all the homeworks, getting good grades on tests. This is what happens when someone decides they don't want to be like Jerry, who's been working at a warehouse for 40 plus something years at a soul draining, physically demanding warehouse job. Now, don't get me wrong, some warehouse jobs pay pretty well. There's a lot of positions out there actually that can range from $20 to even $30 an hour. However, it isn't something that you would necessarily want to make a career out of. Because just like I've stated previously, warehouse jobs are very physically demanding and soul draining. I like to think of a warehouse job as something an individual can fall back on if nothing else works out in their life or they're in a situation where they're job hopping. It's a job someone can keep whilst trying to figure out what they want to do moving forward. But keeping a job like this for 10 to 20 plus years is something I would definitely not recommend. Now, to answer the question, how do warehouse jobs produce great college students? To give you guys a better understanding, I'll share my story and what happened to me because this exact scenario happened. So I graduated high school and I was the class of 2021. I ended up going to university during that fall, that same year. And during my freshman year, I was just not a good student at all. You've probably seen my previous video of me failing out of college, yada yada. Essentially, all I wanted to do was play guitar, party, and I had no desire to do any homework, study for tests, all that stuff. I never went to class. I essentially laid in bed and doom scrolled and gooned all day. And what do you think happened? After 2.5 semesters, or 3 semesters, I want to say, my grades were so bad that the school emailed me and my parents and stated that I was academically suspended for a year. And trust me, you do not want to be in a position where a college academically suspends you because it's just not a good look. And the worst part about it is my friends were going to the same college as me, 4 of my closest buddies. And it was embarrassing to having to tell them, like, hey, we actually can't live together next semester because I was lazy and a horrible student. It was just not a good feeling. So anyways, not to get too sidetracked, after I was academically suspended, I got a job working at Costco. Now, before everyone tweaks out, I would consider working in the meat department at Costco as a warehouse job because what I had to do for my position is I would go in the morning at 6 a.m. and I would unload the truck, which is essentially me getting a pallet jack, pulling out these huge pallets of chicken, red meat, pork, and then bringing them in the cooler, having to organize everything. Mind you, the cooler is around 32 to 40 degrees. It's freezing in there, especially in the morning. So I would organize all the boxes, make sure all the old dates were up front and all the new dates were in the back. All the boxes that I had to haul around and carry and load off the pallets were 60 to 100 pounds. And then after organizing the cooler, I would have to fill out the chicken in the mornings. And all the chicken boxes, like I said, that 60 to 80 pound range. And then after filling out chicken, I would come in and make a grind, which means making ground beef, and then pack fish. And then for the rest of my day, I would fill out chicken and fill out pork, which is more lifting and unloading 80-pound boxes. And not to mention the meat department of a Costco. Costco's in general are warehouses, technically. So I would consider this a warehouse job. So I did this essentially full-time for a year. I come in at 6 a.m. and I get out at 2:30, having to deal with customers, dealing with back pain, all that stuff. Not very fun. And that Costco arc is what drove me back to school. Because before working there, I didn't want to be in school. I didn't want to get a degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. After working at Costco, I still wasn't too sure on what I wanted to do. But what I did know is that I would rather be in school, be in class, doing homework, studying for tests, and getting a degree that could help me in the future rather than just working at Costco for the rest of my life. So that's exactly what I did after a year working. I decided to come back to school, and that's where everything changed for me. My GPA at the time was around a 1.3. I don't remember exactly. 1.3, maybe a 1.7, and I brought it all the way back to a 3.2. And now I'm standing here, graduated, making this YouTube video. Now, what are some of the qualities and traits I and others alike me who have had a similar story have picked up during our stay that translates well over to being a good college student? First off, motivation. I've never been more motivated in my life to stay disciplined and do well in school. I never missed a class. I did all my homework assignments. I studied every night or every other night for tests. I wouldn't go out. Anything to not be working in that damn warehouse. Second, the qualities and traits from working at a warehouse job translates well over to being a college student. Some qualities and traits: showing up to work on time, being flexible with hours. Every semester, your college classes are going to be at different times, but because you're so used to either getting up at 6 in the morning and being on time every day, Monday through Friday, to your warehouse job, or coming in later and being on time, coming in at 5 or 6 o'clock and working until the middle of the night. When you go from having to work with that schedule to a college schedule, it is a breeze to not miss class. You also develop that work ethic, working 30 hours with a 30-minute lunch break, maybe a 15 or 15-minute breaks on top. You develop a work ethic and you develop discipline. And that work ethic translates well to doing homework or studying for tests, because that is little in comparison to, what you had to do for your job. And I would say the third reason is the switch in perspectives. Going to 2 or 3 classes a day, doing homework, studying every night does not compare to working in a warehouse. You understand that this school stuff, this being a college student, is actually not bad. I would actually argue pretty easy if your major isn't something crazy. It's nothing like compared working in a warehouse, and you would rather go to class and do all your schoolwork than work 8 hours. And that's how warehouse jobs produce excellent students. I know for a fact there are other students out there that have a similar story to mine. They do horrible their first year of college, work a warehouse job, and they come back more motivated than ever to do well in school and get that damn degree. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and put in the comments, what other topics would you guys like me to talk about? All right, that's it. See you.